Hello, this is Lino Tadros again, and in this video I would like to show you how to take that project that we just created and add it to source control, which is a very important piece, of course, whether you're working alone or with multiple team members on the team. So let's go ahead and see what's the best way to do that. Alright, I just want to remind everybody that on my D drive, where I created a folder called Tahubu by Kentico in the previous video, inside of that folder I created another folder which is the Tahubu by Kentico.web, and I did that because I'm going to add a lot more projects later on for entities and for email and headless and a lot of things in other videos in the future. But for right now, remember there is a folder inside of a folder. The reason why I'm saying that, if I open up this .web, it has all the minimum amount of files needed to get this project for the instance for Kentico Xperience by Kentico to work. All right, so the next step is I want to go back all the way to the top level, not inside of the .web project, but outside on the main folder in here. And I'd like to create a solution file. And the solution file will also be pointing and bringing in this this web project to the inside as well. So let's go ahead and see what's the easiest way to do that. All right, so I'm going to bring in my PowerShell in here. I need to be in the folder that I told you about, not the .web one. And inside of here, we will use our CLI for .NET. We'll say .NET new SLN. You don't even need to give it a name, all right? You can, of course, if you want to change it. Otherwise, it will take the name of the folder and will create the solution based on that. So we'll do that, and you will notice automatically the solution file has been created. If I do a directory in here, you will notice there is a file called Tahubu by Kentico.sln. Excellent. So now the next step, let me clear up the screen a little bit, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say .NET SLN, be pointing to my new solution file. Remember, you have to be in that folder. And then I'm going to add the project called Tahubu by Kentico.web.cs proj in there. So we'll go ahead and do that. And it's successful. Now, if I even open up in Notepad my SLN file for the solution, you'll notice that it's pointing to the correct project, and I should be in a pretty good shape. If I go back in here, notice the solution file has been created for me, and I know now that is also pointing to my web. And I can continue add more projects later on, and they will all go into the solution file at the root of everything as well. All right, and now let's go ahead and open up this SLN inside of a Visual Studio instance to get things started. And here is my solution and the project inside of that solution open in Visual Studio 2022. And we are ready to go to add this to our source control system. So let's go ahead and do that. You will notice at the bottom of the screen where it says add to source control, it makes it easy on myself. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to use Git. A dialog will come up. Let's give it a second. There you go. I'm going to actually take everything inside of this Tahubu by Kentico. It is very important that you use the .git ignore template, and I'm going to use the Visual Studio one, which is great. I don't want to actually check in any object or any bin folder with any DLLs. All the stuff will be created on any machine that will clone this anyway. And in the license, you can use whatever you want, of course. Let's say, for instance, MIT. I am going to add a README file. And then my account in here is called the Training Boss on GitHub. I'm going to leave it in my the owner because I have a lot of different ones in here, so I'm going to choose one of them. The repository name will be Tahubu by Kentico, is great, and I'm going to say this one will be Tahubu by Kentico sample for training. All right, I'm going to make it private for right now. All right, I can go ahead and push it to GitHub automatically on my account. So let's go ahead and do that, and let's see what happens. And that usually takes a few seconds, and then when it comes back, you will notice the lock will happen on all the files, and it will be successful. And now the only thing left for me is to open GitHub to make sure everything is in there, and nothing got checked in that is not supposed to be checked in. So let's go ahead and open that up. And indeed, if I go to my repositories, you'll notice that Tahubu by Kentico is right there. It's private. If I open it up, you will notice hopefully there is no bin and there is no object, nothing. It did add my git ignore, which is excellent. There is my README file. There is a solution. And if I go into the web, all the files that I need to be in there will be in there as well, which is great. So this is the first part. The source control system has been established for my machine. Now I have a repository. Of course, there is no database that I've backed up. This is a good idea for you to go into your SQL Server Management Studio, for instance, and back up your database. And go ahead on the root, not inside of the web, create a folder called DB Backup, for instance, and put the backpack file from the SQL database in there, just in case somebody else, a team member, would like to to run everything from scratch, to be able to clone your code and also restore the database, and being able to be at the same point where you are. We are all on the main branch in here, so that should be easy enough to do. But for right now, my entire Kentico instance has been backed up and have been cloned, or actually created in Git inside of GitHub. So everybody, including myself on my laptop or other machines, I can actually bring myself back to exactly where I was. Of course, if you're going to be working on your own machine, and this is just a way for you to always be back in time to be able to get to a specific point or see what you did, that is no problem. That will work because it's your own database on your machine, and this code will work. But what happens if you have a laptop or you have 3 or 4 team members that need to be part of this? This is not enough. Remember, there is a lot of stuff that goes into the database. These are only files. So you need to do synchronization file-wise and database-wise as well. So there is something actually inside of Xperience by Kentico that will need to be turned on to make sure you are fully capable of doing source control, which is continuous integration at this point. Let me see how I can show you how to do that really quickly. So let's go back to Visual Studio, and I'm going to open up a PowerShell in here, and I need to go inside of the web project. Let's go to tahubu.web. Alrighty, making sure that everything is in there would be great. And at this point, what I really need to do is to make sure is to do a .NET run to compile and run this for the first time, and go ahead and visit the site, which of course, if you remember in the program.cs, there would be a file, there would be a line for the mapping in here. Of course, we don't have any pages or any content, but all the way at the bottom, we will have the root of the site will say the Tahubu by Kentico.website has not been configured yet. This is what I should see when everything works, okay? So let me go ahead and wait for it. Oh yeah, it's compiled. I'm going to take this URL right there, and let me bring up a new page in here. And we will say go for it. Oops, no, did not get that. That's okay. Let me go ahead and fix that really quickly. What was the URL again? It is right there. Oh, I closed it when I did the Control-C. For Control-C closes it down. Okay, that tells me something that I really need to get my coffee this morning. That's great. Let me run this. 54281 localhost 5254281. All right, let me do this again. All right, this is correct. That means everything is working fine, but I can always go, of course, to the admin in here in the back end. I'm going to actually use the administrator. And if you remember when we created this in the previous video, it was admin1234. Let me go ahead and log in. Excellent. And now notice there are no sites, there is no email, there is no headless. It's brand new instance. So what I would like to do is to go to configuration in here. If you go down in configuration all the way to settings, you will notice there is something in settings called synchronization. If you click on it, the continuous integration will be turned off by default. If you click on this enable continuous integration in here and save this, there is a new folder that just got added to my file system. I don't need this anymore, I can close it down. But if I go to the app_data, there is a new folder called CI repository. And inside of this CI repository, there will be a config file. And every time you're going to create a new content type or pages or whatever you're going to be creating that will need to be synced with the database, there will be new files in XML format will be created in here. This is a good thing for you to actually have into the source control system. So another team member, for instance, that would like to sync with the database, whatever you added, whatever you did, they will need to go ahead and just run a command line to restore the CI itself for the continuous integration. So you can store it and you can restore it. So once you run that command line, it will take whatever is inside of these CI repository XML files. It will do it. Of course, we will do that together in the future. But for right now, I'm ready. I'm ready as far as having source control file-wise, and I'm ready to also synchronize with everybody else database-wise using the CI repository. Hopefully this was useful to you to see how to do this. If you did like it, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you again in the next video. Thank you.